have been exploring New Zealand's North Island, finding a place of rich culture, scorching landscapes, and plenty of magic. Now, it's time for me to venture down south to behold some of the world's most stunning natural backdrops. From glacial lakes to snow-capped mountains to lush fields and alpine villages, which inspired global industries and all kinds of adventure imaginable. From Rotorua in the north, I take a flight to the South Island to land in Queenstown. As the plane descended, magnificent mountain scenery peeked from the clouds, bordered by turquoise water below. Easily one of the most picturesque airport landings in the world. The airport itself is at the base of the remarkable mountain range, truly living up to its name as only one of two mountain ranges in the world that runs directly north to south. I made my way to the heart of Queenstown, a picturesque mountain settlement along the shores of Lake Wakatipu. Swept by the gold rush in the 1860s, miners came here from all over the world to dig, expanding the town rapidly. William Gilbert Rees, the first European to settle in Queenstown, provided food and shelter to the miners at the hotel he built, which can still be seen today. With old buildings restored, Queenstown evokes a feeling of a bygone era, especially with the sight of a steamship plying its waters. Dubbed the Lady of the Lake, the TSS Earnslaw is a 1912 Edwardian coal-fired steamship beautifully restored. It happily transports people around the lake to admire this magnificent mountain setting. But Queenstown does not only offer nostalgia. Far from being outdated, it offers the most modern thrills, being the birthplace of commercial bungee jumping. So I hop into one of these cable cars up the skyline.
Queenstown is the gateway to a lot of adventure and wilderness activities here in the South Island.
Before you think I'll be doing one of these crazy adrenaline-pumping activities, think again. I was here to enjoy the breathtaking views. And to eat, of course. After you've taken in the beauty that surrounds you, you can follow your nose down to the restaurant for another feast that awaits.
The best thing about being here is that they've got this Stratosphere restaurant where they have traditional Kiwi food and international favorites.
Embattled by so many choices, I think this is the kind of adrenaline rush I am looking for.
It's so nice to eat with this beautiful view.
Having all your senses assaulted by the great food and beautiful views only whet my appetite even more. My appetite for adventure, that is. It would be a shame to be the adventure capital of the world and not try one of these thrills. This one looked easy until the rain poured in buckets. Well, that never stopped anyone from doing the iconic jet boat ride. The jet boat was invented in the 1950s by New Zealand farmer Bill Hamilton. to be able to navigate the rocky and shallow rivers in the area. Unlike a motorboat, it doesn't have a propeller, and instead takes in water and expels it as a means of propulsion. The thrill of the jet boat comes from being able to go through narrow river gorges and then picking up the speed through small bridges, almost brushing against rocks and vegetation, then speeding through shallow waters. It's highly maneuverable and can have the acceleration of an F-16 fighter jet. Our jet boat pilot would introduce us to the famous Hamilton turn, a high-speed maneuver with a quick, dizzying 360-degree spin and a large spray of water. Every time he would spin his finger around, we knew he would be up for another crazy turn. I was definitely pumped, not to mention so after that experience. But what a way to begin an adventure on the South Island. Up next, I navigate Lake Wakatipu for some of the world's most stunning mountain scenes, round up some livestock, and discover some of New Zealand's best produce. The mountainous region of Queenstown attracts not only thrill seekers, but also those looking to slow down and enjoying a sip or two. That's because it's the gateway to nearby Gibbston, now dubbed the Valley of Vines, growing some of the world's best Pinot Noir.
If anyone is in the know about quality wines in the world, this is one of the top areas in the world. We have warm days and cool evenings. So our lovely Pinot Noir grape takes a long time to ripen, but things that take a long time to ripen sometimes give you better quality rather than a rushed ripening.
The first grapes were planted here by a French miner during the gold rush in the 1860s. However, it would not be till the 1980s when enterprising journalist Alan Brady would enter the picture. He planted his first grapes here in Gibbston Valley, despite skeptics telling him that the place was too cold, too high, and too far south. Today, Gibbston Valley Wines is considered a pioneer in the region's wine industry, with the largest wine cave in New Zealand.
Although we have our vineyards on site here, we also have vineyards up in the Bendigo region, about 45 minutes away. They're all our own grapes, but with that we get different qualities from the different areas, and we can have a range of Pinot Noirs.
The cave had the perfect ambient temperature for the wines, staying at 14 degrees inside, no matter what the outside temperature is. It was a very nice setting to try their famous Pinot Noir.
Now this is one of the wines that represents the individual site. It's a very warm area, but with the high altitude you do get the cool aspects of night, so you get a nice bit of complexity that comes from that, definitely. So it does bring out this deep dark intensity. So when you swirl and smell, you should get nice kind of dark fruit aromas, maybe a little bit of mocha in there.
Mocha?
Yes. Lovely wine representing the fruit of Central Otago.
Good flavor.
They also kept their first vintage down here in the cellar, which Jamie was happy to show me.
1987.
So this was the first ever Central Otago wine, and it's a dry white wine. It was a Pinot Gris. So it won't taste good now, but we only have 2 bottles of this left.
Okay.
So it's a priceless wine for us. You're very privileged. You're the first member of public ever to come in this little caged area as well. So well done, Anna. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Following the worldwide success of many wine growers in the region, families have also set up their own boutique wineries. I visited Waitiri Creek's unique cellar door, housed in a 117-year-old restored Presbyterian church. It was a good chance for me to try the Pinot Gris, the white wine grape variety of the Pinot Noir that is very popular here.
So now Pinot Gris is the most planted grape after Pinot Noir in
Yes.
Otago now. Thin-skinned grape like Pinot Noir, so it likes the climate we have here. So generally in the summer, long hot days and then cooler nights. Only 7 grams of residual sugar, so it's still off dry, but
Yes.
because of the ripeness of the fruit, it tastes a lot sweeter.
It's good.
Paired with the local cheese, it was very difficult not to overindulge. But what an afternoon well spent, enjoying the most amazing wine pairings here in the southernmost wine growing region of the world. There is still one more place I have yet to explore while in Queenstown, the waters of Lake Wakatipu, which leads to some of the high country farms in the area.
Since the weather is good, I'm going to head on to Mount Nicolas Sheep Station.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We sailed away from Queenstown and into the heart of the lake. The temperatures dropped as we went further in.
Lake Wakatipu is bordered by mountain peaks, making it a spectacular view.
"15,000 years ago, a huge glacier filled this valley. As it moved, it carved the rock underneath it, creating a basin. The glacier eventually disappeared, and the basin filled with water to become Lake Wakatipu. I had a chat with Jeff, the skipper of the boat.
You were saying earlier that this lake is very deep, 300 meters, is it?
Extremely deep. In fact, the deepest point is 390 metres. It's not the deepest lake in New Zealand. The deepest is 420, which is just a few miles south. But there we go there. We're in 370 metres.
But the color of the water is also very nice.
The colour of the water is this deep blue because there is a glacial feed coming in. So the glacier feeds in, all the white moraine falls to the bottom, and then you're left with this filtered water that's this beautiful blue that's actually tested at 99% pure. So you can fill your drink bottles up and drink to your heart's content.
We marveled at the sight of snow-capped alpine scenes reminiscent of the Ice Age as we approach our destination.
Well, we're here in Mount Nicolas.
Mount Nicolas is one of New Zealand's oldest working farms and also one of its largest. The station covers 100,000 acres of land, larger than the country of Malta. I met some of the farm animals, Chester the horse, Lucky the lamb, and Belle the sheepdog. They're very lucky to see these amazing views every day. But what Mount Nicolas is known for is its big production of merino wool, having 30,000 heads of sheep scattered across the station. Duncan gets one of them to volunteer for a nice trim. She seemed to like her new look. Merino is considered the finest and softest wool, which turns into elastic and breathable fabric. Unlike synthetic fibers, it reacts to the body's temperature, helping you stay warm in the cold and keeping you cool when it's hot. New Zealand's vast, open areas make it ideal for raising livestock. From Queenstown, I drive to the nearby town of Wanaka, to see a different kind of livestock being raised. I was welcomed to Criffel Station by Mandy, whose family owned the farm.
So Criffel Station's about 2,000 hectares. We're running about 5,500 deer.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And it's a new industry.
Yeah, it is relatively new, and in fact, actually, we're standing very close to where deer farming started in New Zealand. So just down on the paddocks, just out in front of us here, we had Sir Tim Wallace used to bring deer from the other side of the mountains by helicopter, and then they would drop down in these paddocks down on the front here.
Right.
So we have the red deer, which have been in New Zealand for a very long time.
Is that endemic?
No, not native. Yep, so we're brought in for hunting, I think, originally.
See.
Since the deer farming industry started in the 70s, New Zealand is now said to be the #1 source for farmed venison meat worldwide.
Any other byproducts like the skin?
Yes, so
Corn.
we have the velvet, which we've seen on the stags, and that's used for supporting the immune system for health.
Oh, is it?
Great for athletes who are training, but also just general health, and also as an aphrodisiac.
Aphrodisiac?
I know.
Can I start my own deer farm then?
We can give you some to take home.
Mandy takes me for a ride around the station. She tells me that a large part of their efforts go into making a healthy environment, healthy animals, and healthy people, to be able to allow future generations to enjoy this land. And as we reached the top, I could understand why. The views of the valley were just unbelievable.
So you're lucky to have this area, to be able to do this when you feel like taking a break from work and appreciate the things around us. Huh?
Yeah.
I mean, everything looks good. The lake, the mountains.
It's pretty stunning. No, I think we have to do more of this in life today.
I know.
Slow down a bit.
Yes.
Enjoy.
Up next, I venture higher up to New Zealand's tallest peak, explore its longest glacier, and get up close with 500-year-old icebergs. From Wanaka, I trace the Southern Alps to its highest elevation on its western side. In the distance, I can finally see the knife-edge ridges of Aoraki Mount Cook National Park. I felt so minuscule beholding the majestic peaks of this mountain range. Its highest peak, Mount Cook, is a cloud piercer at 3,724 meters. It is no wonder that the great explorer, Sir Edmund Hillary, the first man to summit Everest, was from New Zealand. He climbed these peaks in preparation for this feat. I was no climber, but I wanted to enjoy the cool mountain air and magnificent landscape. So I went for a walk, or tramping as they call it here.
One thing good about New Zealand is that there are a lot of trails that you can hike on, and you feel very safe because there are no wild animals or predators that will pounce on you.
The land was alive with alpine plants, sprinkled with freshly fallen snow. Because the area is windy, most plants have spiky leaves to keep moisture longer, and plenty of foliage to absorb more sunlight. This lets them survive the icy and rocky setting. But what intrigued me the most was the presence of some of the most powerful forces of nature, glaciers. They make up about 40% of this landscape. A glacier is a river of ice that forms after years of snow gets compacted and becomes one mass. It moves very slowly over the years. shaping the landscape underneath it. When it melts, it leaves behind lakes, valleys, and mountains. It is so powerful in shaping the land that it's often called nature's bulldozer. Hardy explorers have tried to get up close to these glaciers, including a Kiwi pilot, Harry Wigley. He made the first snow landing on the Tasman Glacier, putting retractable skis on his aircraft in 1955. Even Everest climber Edmund Hillary was one of his first passengers. Mount Cook Ski Planes, the company he founded, continues to bring people closer to this magnificent landscape.
Welcome to Mount Cook, New Zealand.
Thank you.
The highest mountain in New Zealand, right up there.
Unfortunately, the winds were not in our favor, and Pete had to deliver the bad news.
But we can't fly.
Strong wind.
Too much wind.
I know.
We stopped flying at 35 knots.
And what do you
We've
reckon?
got 43 knots here
This
at the
is
moment.
43.
Yeah, it's pretty windy.
But I was interested to see the Pilatus Porter PC-6 they use and hear about his flying experience.
These are a purpose-built aeroplane for this. They're a STOL aeroplane, probably one of the first purpose-built STOL aeroplanes ever in the world. They're designed for military use.
True, yes. And where do you land? Do you land in the glacier itself?
The highest places we land are around 8,300 feet up.
I see.
That's about as high as we go.
Okay.
Yeah, which is the Tasman Saddle.
And how big an area, your landing roll and takeoff roll will be about how much?
Hardly anything at all.
Really?
These take off from just very, very little. We would take off between here and that car, no problem at all.
Wow.
Easily with a full load on it.
But I think it's a great flying machine.
Every person gets a few photos and enjoys the snow and the mountains right next to Mount Cook into the plateau. It's great. It's fantastic. It's the best flying in the world.
Determined to see the glaciers up close, I decided on a different approach. A boat ride across the Tasman Lake and into the Tasman Glacier. Dougie leads our expedition and tells me more about these formations.
So an interesting fact about this lake is that 30 years ago it wasn't here at all. The glacier was actually all the way up against this rock wall here. Alright? That was just 30 years ago. So this lake started as a pool of water on top of the ice and expanded in the sun.
Dougie tried to get us as close to the glacier face as possible, but we had to stay at a safe distance.
Not only do you have ice breaking off the face and splashing into the water, but you also have ice from underneath the water breaking off and rising up like a huge submarine. Okay, so we have to keep a safe distance of 300 meters away.
Yep.
Just think that 3 years ago, the glacier was where this boat is.
Right.
Because it melts back 100 meters per year.
So, I like going back to the places that I've been to. So when I come back here, it's never going to be the same, huh?
It's certainly never going to be the same. It changes on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Most of the lower part of the glacier is covered in rock because it gathers debris as it moves.
All of these are ice then, huh?
This is ice covered in rock.
While we can only see about 30 meters of the glacier above the water, it goes down to about 200 meters into the depths below. As it melts, chunks of ice float away, forming icebergs.
So this iceberg here, it's broken away from the face of the glacier and the wind has pushed it into this corner of the lake.
And it should be bigger down below, huh?
It's actually 90% is down below. You can only see 10%.
Oh, so that's normally how it is. Only 10% up the water.
It's always at that ratio because of the amount of air and gas, the consistency of water, air and gas.
It was a marvelous sight. Nature's handiwork of about 500 years right within my reach. If only the water can tell what it has seen throughout its journey. I could not have ended my adventure across New Zealand in a better way. Marveling at these ancient forces that shaped this nation. These glaciers carried gold down to rivers and streams, fueling a gold rush that shaped cities. They carried minerals that made the ground fertile. and gave fresh water that became the fruits of the land. They shaped the valleys that fed animals and lakes that allowed mobility. And now, as these glaciers continue to retreat, they carry an important and urgent message about the state of our Earth, one that cannot be ignored. New Zealand's raw and natural beauty opens our eyes to the splendor of our planet and the steps we have to take to preserve it.
This has been your captain, Joy Roa. See you in the next Asian Air Safari.